Recording in progress. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الذي أذهب الله عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. Assalamualaikum, Assalamualaikum Naseem Aunty. Lovely to see everyone again this week. Honestly, Allah gives us the energy and the tawfiq and the ability to make it every day, every moment, every week, to be in this presence. And inshallah, today we will be talking about a very, very beautiful and very expansive ayat, and that is Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. So I pray that Allah gives us the right insights and the guidance so that through this ayat we can truly understand righteousness and the purpose of our life, and to fulfill it in all its need to be understood. So Bismillah. Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim is one of the key ayat, because the whole conundrum about religion is about being on the right path. And the translation goes that, oh Allah, guide us to the right path, or keep us on the right path. And for me, it sounds more humble to choose the translation where we ask to be guided to the right path. And the purpose for that is that constantly we get distracted. Constantly we lose our direction. And that would be on a personal level in every moment. In Marianne Williamson's book, A Return to Love, she talks about God's will, and she starts it by saying, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say, and to whom? And these are the questions we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when we're seeking His wisdom, when we're seeking His guidance. So when we are saying, guide me to the right path, the first thing to abandon would be what we believe is to be right. If we have a preconceived idea or a preconceived notion of what we think is correct and right, then we have already decided for ourselves what and where we want to go. But to completely surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means to ask Him and say, Allah, you guide me and you tell me, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? And what would you have me say, and to whom? Now, what we grew up with and the idea that we were taught, we were given a set of ideas, we were given a religion, we were given a path, and we were told, do this and you'll go to heaven, and do that and you will, and if you don't do that, then you will go to hell. And somehow we, on the way in the human history and in the history of institutionalized religion, we came to this idea that we need to just follow this black and white idea of right and wrong and good and bad, and that will ensure my safety. But when we look at a religion like that, we realize that a religion like that is coming from a place of a lot of fear. It's coming from a place of being scared, of being in a state of constriction all the time. However, human glory and human legacy begs this question, that when we hold the Spirit of God within us, can our paths be so limited that all our life it was all about being scared and living a life of restriction and constriction, and saying, if I do this, I will fall into the pits of hell constantly. We know that for creativity to flow, for an artist to create the art, for a musician to create the music, for a filmmaker to come out of the box and wow us, they need to be in a state of expansion. They need to be in a state of complete freedom of thought and a liberated state where they can access that divine inspiration, where they can come out with something which nobody's ever seen before. So it's really important that we understand that human growth does not occur in a state of fear. And we cannot allow humanity to reach its highest potential if we are going to stay in that state of cubs, in that state of constriction constantly. Idea being that we need to find a path that in itself energizes us and fuels us towards our glory, towards our best self, towards our highest human potential. So a lot of my video is off. My video is on. Can everybody else see me? Naseema Aunty, please look for my video. My video is on. Just a second. Okay, you found it? Okay. So my video is on. Just check, please. My window must be lost somewhere. Are you okay, Naseema Aunty? Did you find it?
No, please go on. I can hear you. I'll find it. Sorry for the bother.
But you are my video
because
companion.
I was seeing you and then it disappeared. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
Yay. All right.
Thanks.
So,
Sorry.
No, please don't apologize. It's fine. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
So we want to understand what this righteousness is, because how is it that this was my question as a child, that I grew up with an understanding that Islam is the best religion. And if Islam is the best religion and it's got the most advanced teachings and the Holy Prophet is the most advanced prophet, and in my mind, Holy Prophet embodied all astronomy, mathematics, science, all kinds of modern education, then I did not understand how is it possible that the Muslim countries would lag so far behind, and what caused the Islamic teachings to affect us so deeply that we got left behind in the journey of technology, in the journey of education, in the journey of moving ahead and finding our glory, our gold, and our highest potential. We see that along the way, from the Holy Prophet till today, there have been a lot of scholars. And at some point, there were scholars who started to believe that there was too much freedom in religion and it had to be curtailed and it had to be strongly stopped. And a lot of that we see in the time of, after a lot of scientific growth had happened, we see that some scholars come and they affected this growth in the name of religion. And what I see did not grow with time is the idea that Islam is not just a booklet, it's not just the Quran. Islam is actually the beautiful surrender that comes from the word taslim. So a Muslim is somebody who surrenders. Muslim is somebody who surrenders beyond what they choose to think is right. And this is where we come back to our discussion on Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim, the right path, guide me to the right path. Guidance to the right path will only come when we let go of our definition of what is right. When we are asking Allah to guide me to the right path, His guidance will only be received by my heart if my heart has already let go of all kinds of decisions about what is right. So, in order to receive guidance from Allah, in order to receive truth from Allah, we ourselves need to first let go of our definition of what we think is right. Otherwise, the cup is already full, and what needs to be poured in it has no place. And therefore, if we only get stuck in the superficial, in the outer ideas of right and wrong and black and white, and not only have we already decided what is right and wrong, but what we're not understanding is that a human being is not just superficial. A human being is much deeper than that. So a lot of times, I would get this question, and I've said it so many times, that if Quran and Islam is the correct guidance, then what happened to the Daesh and the ISIS? And what happened there is that they only went with the outer shell of the guidance that they were taking, and they forgot about the inner dimension. Allah is saying that there is a book, the Quran, then there is the horizon, and then there's a human being. There's a trinity happening here. And so in this trinity, the outer, the inner, and the book of the Quran, there are three dimensions or three reflections of the same reality. There's a reality within me, there's a reality in this outer world, and then there's a reality in the book of Quran. If you're only going to go with that written word, and we're not going to connect it, plug it in, and align it and sync it with the heart and with the world, the complete picture will be lost. The complete guidance is going to be lost. Everything on the outside is a sign. Everything on the outside is teaching us something. Every human being, every part of nature, every experience, every person who walks into our life is a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us something, teaching us something. It's not just restricted to this book. And for us to be able to open to all of that, we need to see everywhere we turn is the face of God. God is not only in this book. God is not only restricted to the pulpit or the black and white that we were taught. If we want to go deeper and understand the deeper meanings of the Quran, we have to simultaneously go deeper within ourselves. We have to simultaneously go deeper into the understanding of why Allah created this world the way He created. Have we sat down and thought about how the world has evolved, the kind of people who are in the world, who are doing good work, the nations that have gone ahead, and the non-Muslim or the non-Islamic work that has progressed the whole of humanity. So today, the first vaccines won't come from a Muslim society. Today, the first inventions won't come from a Muslim community. The growth we see comes from a non-Muslim mindset. Something about the conventional Muslim mindset stopped us from reaching our highest glory. And that was about becoming literal. And this is where we had started this journey into Quran, that we want to go beyond the literal. We want to go beyond the right and wrong. Imam Ali says that there is a worship of the one who is seeking heaven, and that's worship of the businessman. And then there's the one who's scared of hell, and he will do worship like a slave. But the best is that of a free man, liberated man. And that is the worship where you are only seeking Allah. And when we look at Allah, what is Allah for us? In our limited capacity, Allah is perfection. When we're seeking perfection and we're wanting perfection, which is hardwired in it, we see that outside the realm of this religious community, we see a lot more seeking of perfection. Okay, so one, we see that there is seeking of perfection and achievement of perfection in the human society, in the human, attainment, in the human, legacy. We see there's so much growth. And at the same time, we see that the Muslim authorities start to condemn a lot of this, that there's a lot of condemning of the non-Muslims being the way they are and doing the things that they're doing. Then there's a sense of separation. There's a sense of even jealousy, perhaps, and even insecurity towards others, because there's a me and them. And if they're doing something and I'm not able to do it, then instead of saying, I don't know how to do it, let me learn, let me grow, let me find out what's going on and what they're doing, there's a separation coming from a place of egoic insecurity where the other is moving ahead and I'm left behind. So let me condemn them. I can find ways to condemn them so I don't feel bad about myself. Because if others are going ahead of me and I'm left behind, then I'll have to admit that I've gotten lost somewhere. I have forgotten something somewhere, which the others haven't, and I can go and learn from them. So there's a sense of getting attached to the egoic mind of the black and white, of the right and wrong, of the good and bad, of condemning and of praising, of saying this is bad, this is good. And that seeped into our everyday lives. And then we started to get so focused on the outer shell of Islam that we forgot about the essence and the depth of what was brought to us. Islam was brought to us by all of the prophets. It belongs to all of us. Islam is not a book in a bound, in the bound pages. Islam is the inner state. It is the way of life. It is the complete way of understanding cosmos and reality. That is Islam. Islam is surrendering to the truth and saying, let me unveil a new layer of truth. Let me go towards the truth with such an empty heart and mind that it can be filled then with divine wisdom, that I can be taught. Every single time we walk into learning with a preconceived idea, we are walking in in a very redundant way, because if we've already decided what the truth is, then what's the point? What are you going to learn? What are you going to know? And so the idea of the right path is, first of all, the emptying of the ego, of the complexes, of the already knowing part, and already saying, I know what is right and I know what is wrong, and then walking into it. Okay, so then what about Sharia? The Sharia that we have is there as a safety net, so that when the human being starts to go into this journey of exploration, that there are certain things that curtail us in a protective way, not an anti-growth way. And this Sharia has to keep on evolving with time. It has to keep growing with time. It has to be, again, constantly redesigned with the growth of time and human ability and human intellect. And when that happens, constantly Islam has to fit into the human fitra, the human psychology. It should click in without any discord, without any chaos. What I mean by that is that in any given situation, our movement towards growth, our movement towards our highest potential should not be curtailed by anything which is off the Sharia that we've got within the parameters of what the Quran tells us. And that is why there's a whole understanding that we need to keep on focusing on the axis on which this religion rotates. Okay, The essence has to be understood, so that with time we have a formula, but we keep applying our life on that formula. We don't get attached to that particular equation and that particular answer to that equation. We don't want an equation for life. We want a formula. Otherwise, what is it that I and you are going to achieve in our life if we are just spoon fed every single time what I'm supposed to do? So or in order to understand the right path, as we said in the beginning, Marianne Williamson is saying, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say, and to whom? When we say these sentences, we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his divine wisdom for me particularly, just me. Because Allah has not created two souls identical. Hence, two souls cannot have the same path. They cannot have the same journey. They have to do their own work and their own journey. So we want to look at certain aspects of our history as humanity, as mentioned in the Quran. And we want to understand that when Hazrat Adam was created and he was put into heaven, and Hazrat Adam, and we hear Hazrat Adam and Bibi Hawa's story that they were in the Jannat and they were living happily, and then they were distracted. And they were distracted by Satan saying that, you know, if you go towards, God has forbidden you to go towards this tree of immortality, because if you go there, you will become like the angels and you will taste of immortality. What is wrong with tasting immortality or wanting to become like an angel? It's a high stature. It's something that you and I would also feel tempted towards. And you and I would ask, why is God stopping me from going there? Right? But what we see here and what I have observed, this is my observation, is that Hazrat Adam, in this phase of feeling distracted and going towards the tree, seemed to have gotten distracted and gotten absorbed in wanting this angelic status and wanting this state of immortality for itself. And so the idea became, I want this. This looks beautiful. This is perfection. I want this. Now what is wrong with wanting it? What is wrong with wanting perfection? What is wrong with wanting to live forever? We all want to live forever and look young forever. We're always working towards, you know, putting creams and, you know, going for treatments to look young forever. It's in our nature to want perfection. So what is it that we notice that in his intention got him into that state that he was? In my understanding, Hazrat Adam didn't really fall from a heaven, but he fell from a heavenly state within. And the focus afterwards, after eating from the tree, becomes his, you know, they suddenly realize they have a body and they start to cover their private parts. So I have a whole discussion on Hazrat Adam, so I don't want to go into that in detail right now. But the idea is that what was missing in that intention was the pure intention of seeking only and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the seeking of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the seeking of that unity and connection and proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lies the secret of a pure intention. When we seek any perfection without this intention, then that attainment of perfection takes us away from our real perfection. It just becomes a very outer and a very superficial seeking of perfection. And therefore, it is important to notice that for Hazrat Adam to seek that tree for the tree itself was the issue. For him to seek the tree to reach Allah would be a very different thing. Therefore, the distraction of our life in seeking the truth should not be my idea of what I want. Where we lose the plot is that instead of using heaven and hell to reach God and to use the concepts of the right and wrong and the bad and good to reach God, we have started using God to reach heaven and hell. And in that sense, the right path is to let go of anything other than seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is really important that, you know, if we think that heaven is a state of Zen within us right now, even that can become a state of shirk, because we don't know who Allah is. And the reason I'm saying this is because when we reach a state of Zen and we say, wow, I've achieved something. Okay, this is the truth. This is the right. I'm calm. I'm healed. We've already decided what the right is. We've already decided and filled our hearts with the concept of what is right. And now how are we going to empty ourselves for the next stage of growth and truth? So truth is in Wales. Allah is in Wales. Haq is in Wales. And the journey is infinite. The minute we come to a point and a station where we start to be complacent, then that is our loss. That is where we lose track. We lose track of this Sirat-e-Mustaqim, which we were taught is thinner than hair and sharper than sword, because it's so easy to fall off in every moment, to let go of the truth, let go of the right. I learned this right, I learned this truth, let it go. Don't get attached, move on, next, next, next. This is where the journey of the wayfarer and the mystic keeps on moving towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a very fine idea. We cannot get attached to anything. Getting attached to anything, even truth itself, will hinder the journey. And so the seeking of perfection, the seeking of God, the seeking of truth is a journey of constantly breaking ourselves. It's like we reach a place of saying, oh, this looks like the perfect recipe. And we create something, and then we say, this is it. I found the perfect recipe for the cake. That's it. This is it. And we're happy with it, and we're satisfied with it. And now we cannot grow to the next level. We can't go to the even better. So the perfection stops. And as we move into this journey of searching for truth, what we have to understand that Allah has brought His Spirit into us. And so Allah is infinite. Allah is eternal. If we have that God particle within us, as our truth grows, inner capacity keeps on growing. Inner expansion keeps on growing. So we are underestimating who we are when we come to a place of truth and we stop there. We waste our potential. We have to understand that there is a constant expansion within of growth, of learning, of truth, and constantly our idea and image of Allah has to keep changing, because Allah is not limited. If we think this is what Allah is, then that's it. Allah is not that, because Allah is infinite, Allah is unlimited, He's beyond our perception. So the journey cannot stop. The journey has to keep on moving. We have to keep on letting go. And that intention, now knowing and willingly setting this intention and saying, Allah, I realize the reality of truth. I realize the reality of the right path. The right path is an infinite path. And for me to keep going towards you, This journey cannot stop. There can be no stagnation. There can be no stopping. That is why I keep repeating this, that Ayatollah Khomeini came in the dream of his son, and his son asked him, how is it over there? And he said, you have to be answerable even for this movement of your finger. So that means that every moment there has to be a harka, there has to be emotion, there has to be a change, there has to be a seeking, there has to be a finding, there has to be a letting go and detachment, and then letting go. Seeking, finding, understanding, letting go. Seeking, finding, letting go. Seeking, finding, letting go. And the hadith says that if 2 of your days are same, then you are in a loss. You have lived a life of an insect, Imam Sadiq says. Your 2 days cannot be the same. There has to be growth every day. So you have to be in a state of acceleration. You have to keep on growing and moving. You can't be stagnant. So I want to come back to Marianne Williamson, where she's talking about God's will and us asking Allah. And she asks this question and she says, people ask themselves, do I want to serve God or do I want to be happy? Since certain organized religions have represented the spiritual life as a life of sacrifice and austerity, it can be hard for some people to imagine that a life lived close to God is a life full of joy. A Course in Miracles says the only real pleasure comes from doing God's will. God does not demand sacrifice. The life of sacrifice is the life we live before we find a higher sense of identity and purpose. The sacrifice of the memory of how magnificent we really are and what an important job we came here to do. And that's a lot to sacrifice, because when we can't remember why we're going somewhere, we have a hard time acting on full throttle once we get there. So she's saying when we lose all sense of what our majestic legacy had to be, who we are and what we came here to do, the fuel is gone. We don't know, where am I going? What am I supposed to be doing? What is the right thing to do? And we just limit ourselves in this very sad life of sacrifice, which is what mainstream religions do. They put us in a state of fear so that we become constrained by people and not become answerable to God directly. Everybody who's come and used religion has used religion to control the masses to their power. It gives them a sense of control. It gives them a sense of direction. It gives them a sense of authority and power over the rest of us. And so we let go of our direct right to understanding God in the right manner, in that unique particular lens that is given to each one of us. But then she goes on and she says that love gives energy and direction. It's spiritual fuel. Over here, I want to bring in the concept of alastu. There's an ayat in the Quran where Allah says, alastu bi rabbikum qalu bala. Allah says, am I not your Lord? And we said, yes, bala, yes. Now, this, they say, was a promise that was taken from us in the realm of the, they say alam arwa, or before we came here. And we feel like we've forgotten that promise. As you all know, I like to, and this is my prerogative, that we do tafsir in the present moment. There is a realm within us where Allah is constantly renewing this promise with us. Lastu bi rabbikum qalu bala. Am I not your Lord? And we're saying yes. In the realm of the spirit, we are surrendered, we are connected to the source. There's no separation. That's why when Allah says, Ya ayyuhal insan, innaka qadihan qadhan famulaqi, O human, O mankind, you are all moving towards your meeting with Allah, and you will meet him, you will meet your Lord. Now I want you to focus on the word Lord here. In alastu bi rabbikum, there is a Lord, Rabb, the nourisher, the guider. And even in this ayat, you have to understand Allah is saying you are going to meet your Lord. O mankind, you're going to meet your Lord. Lord is the one who is individually nourishing our right paths. And the promise of Alastu, am I not your Lord, is Allah coming to us individually and telling us, do you remember that I am your Lord, I am your nourisher, I'm the one supporting you? Do you remember? And we're saying yes. And we have to say yes. Why? Because individually, each one of us have to be on a lonely journey to oneness. The right path is one path that has been designated only for me. I have been sent in this life to manifest God. That is the purpose, right? So the right path for each one of us would be to follow our destination, to reach our destination, which I need to reach. If my destination is B, and I say that my right path is A, then there's a discrepancy. My destination and my intention and my purpose of life and my right path all need to be the same. There can be no separation. And so in reaching my perfection, I need to recognize my Rabb and my presence and my journey and my relationship with my Rabb. And when Allah is saying, Alastu bi Rabbikum, Rumi says that this promise that we made with Allah was the promise to manifest Allah through me. And when I'm making this promise to Allah, the names He taught me, and I said, I will manifest you through me. You see, Allah, teachers say that Allah has a dimension which is unseen. There's a whole lot which is unseen. And the world of the seen constantly manifests that which is the unseen. And so our work here is to manifest Allah through our work and presence in every moment in this journey on earth. And for us to uncover our own journey would be our own right path. So Rumi says that the journey is the journey of the heart. The journey where Allah is. Allah says the whole universe cannot encompass me, but the heart of a believer can. And so the right path is actually going to the heart, listening to this voice that Allah has put in my heart, and then saying labbaik to Allah and saying, yes, qalu bala, yes, you are my Lord. My entire support comes from you. My entire guidance comes from you, not from the people. And I'm just going to share an ayat with you in a minute. So that the right path then is to wake up every day and know that what you're doing brings you joy and answers the passion in your heart, where you have this nudging feeling. There's a nagging voice within you saying, you know what, I am gravitated towards living this life and doing this work and being this way. This is who I am. This is what feels real. And to let go of everything that we are taught in the society to be a certain way has to be let go. Because when we go into a rat race, when we try to be, we keep up with the Joneses, when we say that, the world is moving in a certain direction and I need to go in that direction, and the perfection that the world is seeking, I need to seek that perfection. And if the idea is to, have a particular timeline, study, have a good job, make money, have kids, blah, 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 we start to move away from our real inner selves that we have come in here with. And the reason we forget this promise of Alastu bi Rabbikum qalu bala is because we get distracted by the outer world. We forget that there's a hidden promise within me, which was to manifest what? How do I manifest Allah? It was to manifest my authentic, real self. Who am I? What are my likes and dislikes? What is it that I prefer my life to be? What is it that calls out to me and gives me the fuel and the passion? So when we say love is the fuel of the spiritual journey, it has to be the love for the inner voice in our hearts. The journey of the mystic is to move out of the brain into the heart. So many of us get caught up in what people say and what people expect us to do because we want validation from people. We have this deep need to be loved. And when we let go of our self-love in Allah and we let go in our loyalty to Allah, we seek validation on the outside, we somehow chip away on who we are. We let go of the sight of the perfection and the right path that we were meant to tread in this life. And so it's really important for us to understand that we move out of the matrix of what the world teaches us and what the world shoves down our throats to do and be. And in every moment, we do life from the heart. And the mystics say, I had to lose my mind to find God, to find myself. You have to, you lose your mind to find yourself. We'd call that insane, right? And that's why, I was talking about the artists and the filmmakers right in the beginning. When we let go of the mind, we let go of the shackles, we let go of the constriction that limits us. And once we let go of the need of validation, you know what validation is? Validation is, as long as I can maintain myself to be a certain way, I can keep up with a reputation. Rumi says, let go of your reputation, become notorious. Enough with this drama, enough with this game, enough with this role playing of, being a certain way and doing a certain thing and, all of that. So the right path is to become insane in a way that sanity means control, predictability, and stability and certainty. When we come from a place of fear, we want these things. We want stability, we want predictability, we want certainty. But the path of a real human liberated soul is none of it. It's a path of walking into the unknown and the unseen and the unpredictable constantly. And that is the nature of life, isn't it? We want to stabilize it and something new comes up. We want to harmonize it. We want to hold it by its horns and say, you know what, tame down now. And it wouldn't. And it'll be a wild bull that's going to rip away at everything you want to find certainty and stability and just, and you see that a lot of these teaching masters had to come to their knees because their illusion of wanting stability was broken. And if you read the life of Neil Donald Walsh, he's written the book Conversations with God. He says that, he came to a point where he was, I think he had a breakup or a relationship or a divorce. He was completely broke. He had no money. He was going to lose his apartment. And he had a broken down old car and he was sitting with his hands in his head, and then even the car goes into an explosion. Something happened to the car. And he's looking outside the window and he's saying, seriously, God, what kind of a joke is this? Like, what are you doing? I do not like this, and you try and try and try to tame life, and life doesn't listen, does it? It just keeps throwing you off your balance constantly. And so when we think that I will do XYZ and check my boxes and then I'll come to a place of stability and certainty, it's so strange how we don't just look for stability and certainty and predictability in this dunya, but we want that for heaven as well, and we want to just check all the boxes and say, now I'm done, I'm set, and now I don't need to be scared. And then Allah will throw an existential crisis in our life and things won't make sense and there will be questions that will need answers. So we need to be open constantly to this journey of completely being thrown off constantly and then being the watcher of life unfold in front of us and saying, what's there for me to learn in this now? What's the guidance in this now? What is the message in this now? What is my next assignment? You know, in in Impossible, Tom Cruise gets those chits in which his next mission is written. And there you go again, and you go on a new mission. And now, you know, you have to discover something new and scary and risky. And it just doesn't stop. That's how we're supposed to be with the truth. It's a constant journey of discovery, of challenge, of, you know, being amazed, being put into awe by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so life becomes full of joy, full of love, full of passion, full of excitement, full of color when we start to embrace this side of life and take whatever comes as a beautiful new experience of learning instead of wanting to give away all of that. We would lose out on um, so much excitement in life if we want to give away on this aspect of truth and wanting to be guided to the right path. So the right path for each one of us is our individual inner calling in our hearts, which we have brought to this planet to manifest. And beware that if we do not go and you know, we do not do labbaik to this calling in our heart, then we would have completely lost the plot of this life. We would stay like ungrown embryos, ungrown fetuses in a womb, which did not reach its highest potential, which did not grow. The purpose of this womb of this earth is so that we can fully grow our inner limbs, so that we're ready for the next life, we're ready for the next world. Because if we don't allow the fetus to grow within the womb completely, and the baby is born into this world, then the baby will be born, the baby will have a life, but it will never be able to experience the joy of this life to the fullest potential. The baby will come into this earth and may not be able to eat all of the good things on this planet because the palate didn't grow, may not be able to write or read or experience the joys of nature because the eyes may have not grown, or the hands may have not grown, or the feet may have not grown. So just in much the way we see the baby come into this world, and we want the baby to have all of its faculties completely grown, we also want to grow completely in the womb of planet Earth, so that when we go to the next stage, we have not wasted the opportunity of eternity. Because this is our chance to grow. This is our chance to break out and grow our faculties in order for us to be ready for the next realm. And that is why suicide is not acceptable, because the way we grow in this planet Earth is because we have to go through moments of constriction. We have to be alone. We have to embrace our uniqueness, our eccentricities, our weirdness, our wackiness. We have to come to a place of surrendering to what Allah has intended us to be, and saying yes to the calling in our hearts. And once we start to do that, and we start to break out of our shell, and we grow into that individual flower that we were meant to be. Imagine if each flower were to look at the other flower and say, that flower had 70 petals, I just have 69. Something is wrong with me. I shouldn't bloom. Yeah. Not realizing that it was in the 69 that this flower had its own individual beauty. And if all the flowers were identical and 70, none of them would be beautiful. We would not go and pluck out a particular flower for its beauty, because all of them would be the same. And so that's what we do. When we start to compare and look at everyone around, we start to lose track of our perfection, in the perfection of our uniqueness. And so it's really important that we embrace our unique calling, and we know our unique calling through the questions and the dialogues that our heart brings to us, the journey that the heart opens to us through its voices, through its calling. So many, startups these days, entrepreneurs, so many of them, they are able to do something great and big and unique and serve humanity because, there will be, young men and women who will say, I need to leave my day job to follow my purpose, to follow my calling. There's no stability in starting your business. You don't know if you'll make it big or not. Why do they take that risk? Is because at night when they go to sleep, they know they have followed their heart. Why? Because that nagging voice of their heart doesn't stop. It's a beeper from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, constantly reminding you, wake up to your calling, wake up to your calling. You didn't come here to be like everybody else. You came here to be you. And that is the true meaning of the right path. Have your questions and then search for your answers. And don't be shy and don't be stuck in needing validation from people, because when there is need for validation, then there is a maintenance of reputation. And then we just get stuck in this balancing act of constantly keeping a role play so that I can have this reputation. What starts to happen when we start to maintain a reputation is that we identify ourselves as that one entity, as that person. So if I am the famous surgeon in a certain area, then I want to be respectable and I want to be, known as the good guy, as the helper, as the charity worker. But what if you turn 50 and your heart turns and you're now saying, I want to move into the mountains and I want to be a farmer and I want to experience nature, and there is a calling from me over there. And you're like, how can I do that? I just built this big house and I have a car and I have a circle and I have to maintain my social connections because these connections come in handy, and I have to keep it good with everyone, and I have to keep it good with the mayor also, because if I don't keep it good with the mayor, then tomorrow I can't get work out of him. So even if the mayor is being unfair and wrong or whatever, we start to get into that balancing act of maintaining that reputation. But when there is no identity, there is no label to me. Who am I? I don't know. Eckhart Tolle and these mystics, they will say, if you ask me for an introduction, I really don't have one because I'm an illusion. I don't exist. I'm a constantly changing color of water. It's like that. So if we entrench ourselves in these identities, these become egoic role plays. I am a good mother. I am, a good student. I am this, I am that. That is why, yes, you're a good mother. You have a responsibility. Keep it fluid, keep it going. Imagine what happens with us when we have a definition attached to a good mother, then we become stagnant with the way we parent our children as well. Then we say, I know better. I'm your mom. This is the way I know how things need to be. And then that communication with children also breaks because now you've become stagnant and rigid and stubborn, my way or the highway, right? That is the problem with giving ourselves these labels and these, the stature, the status that I need to maintain. And all of these, uh, you know, hardcore, rigid ways of identifying ourselves are all entrenched in the ego. And we don't want that. So who am I? I'm a moving abd. I'm a moving servant, constantly in motion. I don't know what my tomorrow is going to be like, what God wants from me in this life. That's why, when we're open, then we have to be open to life taking us with us in its flow. The flow of life is not going to stop. The uncertainty, the new things that come our way is not going to stop. Life is constantly going to be in a state of motion and change. And if we align ourselves with that movement and flow, if we let ourselves be taken, then imagine, isn't it a faster and a better journey to flow with the river and in its pressure and then reach the ocean? Or is it better for me to have my own little boat going upstream and deciding how I'm going to manage my journey against the flow of river? So if we look at this, just going to share. I'm going to end it here. Um, so over here, Sheikh Falala is saying, yeah, you guys can see it. Right? Show us the direct way. A straight line is the shortest distance between 2 points. A straight line is also 1 point traveling in only one direction. Therefore, you ask to be shown the most direct routes towards this knowledge. So do you see that the river, the flow of life is the real straight path. It is the fastest way to reach the ocean for any river. And so if we go with the river, if we go with the flow of life and where it means to take us, where the heart directs us to go, then we stay in a state of flow. And the feeling we feel within ourselves when we follow our heart is another level of joy and passion. When somebody works out of an obligation to the mind, then their work is a strain. It drains their energy. Every day they wake up and they say, I have to go to work. I have to do this. So tiring, so upsetting. I don't want to do this. And every day they struggle and every day they labor away with work. But what happens if your work and everyday life and everyday design of your life is such that you're constantly feeling inspired and excited and you wake up every morning and you feel joy in your heart? Then that is the fuel of love that fuels the path to the spirit. Therefore, the Holy Prophet says, righteousness is what your nafs is at peace with. If you want to know righteousness, ask your heart, even if the people tell you otherwise. So this is where I would like to stop our session. And this is the true journey. This is the Sirat-e-Mustaqim. And we constantly lose track of Sirat-e-Mustaqim because we get distracted in this dunya. I will discuss one or two other aspects of Sirat-e-Mustaqim, inshallah, in the next class as well. So I'm going to stop the recording after making dua. Let us put our hands up for dua. Oh Allah, we come to you as your humble servants. Oh Allah, we come to you in our bewildered states with confusion and not having any sense of direction. Oh Allah, we keep getting lost. We keep losing track of where we're meant to go and what is the right and what is the wrong. Oh Allah, our reliance is only and only in you and on you. Oh Allah, it is our trust in you that helps us get up every morning and move on. Otherwise, there is so much to put us down. It is your strength, it is your love, it is your support and mercy that helps us get through every single day. Oh Allah, do not leave us at the mercy of ourselves and our wisdom and our guidance and our knowing and our design for life. Oh Allah, we hand ourselves over to you. So, oh Allah, take us where we're meant to go. Guide us to where we're meant to reach, oh Allah, because you are the all-wise, all-merciful, all-loving.